don't use, and I use it all the time with my clients. I tell my clients all the time to use it with their prospects or their end users, is when you're in that chat message feature, texting, open the video, record a little personalized video, right? Like even if you're creating a bit.ly link as kind of like, hey, before our appointment, obviously a lot of us find that little kind of quick thumbnail photo is not the best photo that's taken. But if you take the time to replace that, that's a perfect spot in an automation to go, hey, really appreciate that you booked an appointment. I'm going to be seeing you in the next 24 hours or in 2 hours. Like those are things that, again, we all get the transactional text messages, which are you have an appointment at this time coming up, right? The personal element of it, adding in something that is automated but looks like it was done, with intent, has a huge impact in not just inspiring that person, but reminding them.
Hi there, and welcome to another episode of the High Level Spotlight Sessions, where we showcase awesome marketers doing awesome marketing. Today, I'm thrilled to be joined once again by Brad Ferris. He's co-owner and VP of marketing for Clinic Grower, seven-figure full-stack marketing agency. He's got some other stuff going on now. I don't think we can talk about it yet, but it sounds like he's been keeping very busy since we last spoke. Brad, thank you so much for coming back on the show.
Thanks for having me.
Brad, I'm excited to have you back because today we're going to do something that we haven't really done on the show before, which is kind of laser focus in on one very specific topic, a piece of nurture that I feel like often goes overlooked, which is the no-show. I can't remember how this came to be, but somebody posted something about no-shows, and I saw one of your comments, and I was like, Brad, maybe we should do a spotlight on this or something. And here we are.
Yep. No, so yeah, getting people to show for their appointments has been a massive challenge, especially this year. I don't know if it's post-COVID. Don't know if it's the millennials kind of maturing as an audience and kind of wrecking all of us old guy business practices and stuff like that. But the hope today is I can bring, some of the evidence-based stuff that we use on the medical side for earlier in my career, that still works really, really well for our agency, not just for setting our sales appointments, but also setting for our clients. And I think that some of those insights probably are actually things that a lot of agency owners aren't aware of. I want to obviously, love the tools that you guys have and how we use them, but talk a little bit about the personalization, because I know a lot of the time we focus on the automation side of things.
Nice. I love it. And so let's paint the picture first, because I feel like, honestly, this is definitely not a 101 topic, right? I feel like younger agency entrepreneurs are often focused just on getting the lead, maybe not even getting it to a booking, right? And then you kind of get to a point where you're like, shoot, this isn't working. Like, why? There's a disconnect here. Oh, it's because they don't know what to do with internet leads. So we need to take these leads one step further for them into bookings. And that in itself is a quantum leap forward, I think, in an agency owner's journey. But then after that comes, wait a minute, if we start looking at all these appointments that we're booking and really dig in here, tons of them aren't even showing up. Like, imagine how much happier our clients would be if somehow we could get more of these people just show up to the thing that they booked. I mean, would you agree that this is kind of something that goes often overlooked?
Yeah, I think if 2022 is the year of the offer book, 2023 is probably going to be the year of the intent. Because the offers are great. I think tons of us are getting good engagement on the offers. Obviously, there's been tons of discussion, at all of the conferences and shows and stuff like that about offers, but really it comes down to intent. What are we doing to incentivize the intent for that next step, which is ultimately, great, you got the lead, but now you need them to engage. You need to show. What's your nurture sequence looks like, right? What's your reminder sequence look like? Why are people not showing? That's actually a question I get a lot in terms of like, man, I can't understand why. And you start to, you break down a little bit, not just their funnel, but their nurture sequences and follow up and stuff. And it starts to reveal to them, oh, hey, like there's some fundamentals that I'm missing here that are really, really important.
So talk to me about that. I mean, I think if we think about a no-show sequence or a reminder sequence in general, pretty basic, right? Okay, I know you booked the time in a high-level calendar, and now I'm going to send you a couple of emails, maybe a couple of texts, starting maybe 48 hours before, leading up to the appointment. Hey, don't forget, we have an appointment at this date and time. What more can one do?
Well, I mean, this was used 20 years ago when I was running medical practices, and it's going to be used just as effectively now. In most situations, when you book an appointment, as you're ending that appointment, you're not actually saying to that person, awesome, so you got it in your phone, like it's set in, you got it added in there into the proper calendar, cool. Because again, all the automations are fantastic, but if the number's not right, if the email's going to the secondary or tertiary email rather than the primary, if they physically don't have it in their calendar with the little 10-minute kind of auto pop-up, those are really good reasons why people forget. I say to my team all the time, if you don't send me a reminder with that little 10-minute thing that comes up on the screen, I will just keep moving forward. Like especially for us as entrepreneurs, our clients aren't really that much different. They're probably driven people that have a lot on their calendar. And if you're going to assume, like we often assume the close on the sales side, but if we're going to assume the show, then we're probably in the danger of getting no show.
That's really interesting. So flesh that out for me a little bit. Actually, I'd have to sit down and think about. I know that I think that we put like a default add this to your calendar type of thing,
Correct.
right? But we've got different devices, different types of calendars, Outlook versus Gmail, these kinds of things. How do you attack that?
It's really simple. On the call when we set, we go, awesome, we're all set for Tuesday. What we're doing is like 4 o'clock Eastern, right? 1 o'clock Pacific. Chase, can you just really quickly verify that you're able to click that add to calendar? You see it in your calendar. We're all set, no other conflicts. Awesome. Really appreciate you doing that. I know that I'm busy, you're busy too. I really want to make sure we maximize the time together. It's honestly as simple as that. It's something that you don't hear on a lot of set calls when you're auditing for other, peers, agencies, even your own team. And I say to my team, it's probably one of the most fundamental things that you probably want to add to your script, because again, you're assuming that they're going to do all the things that your automation has sent out. When in reality, if they don't click the button, if they don't accept, they're not going to see it.
That's interesting. Now you're talking about setting, and I feel like that's a next level. Most agencies aren't actually setting appointments for people. If I'm just using online scheduling, would it be a good idea to not just confirm, hey, thanks for making that booking on Tuesday at 5 p.m., Brad, but follow up with a question of like, hey, Brad, I just wanted to make sure you were able to get our appointment set on your calendar, try to get to like a yes out of that?
Yeah, that's where the personalization comes in, right? So the automation is key. The personalization is essential. So one of the things that I find a lot of agency owners with high level don't use, and I use it all the time with my clients. I tell my clients all the time to use it with their prospects or their end users, is when you're in that chat message feature, texting, open the video, record a little personalized video, right? Like even if you're creating a bit.ly link as kind of like, hey, before our appointment, obviously a lot of us find that little kind of quick thumbnail photo is not the best photo that's taken. But if you take the time to replace that, that's a perfect spot in an automation to go, hey, really appreciate that you booked an appointment. I'm going to be seeing you in the next 24 hours or in 2 hours. Like those are things that, again, we all get the transactional text messages, which are you have an appointment at this time coming up, right? The personal element of it, adding in something that is automated but looks like it was done, with intent, has a huge impact in not just inspiring that person, but reminding them in terms of why to come. And then that's one of the things I talk to agencies about all the time is, well, what other elements are you including in your nurture, in the follow-up? Are you just focusing on the appointment reminder, or are you really telling the value that you're going to deliver when they get to that call? Because honestly, people probably don't show up for the majority of the time because they don't see the value in what you're offering.
That's interesting. And I love that you shouted out that feature, right? A lot of people don't even know that you can do it. You're in the mobile app, you're in a conversation, you can click it used to be a paper clip. I'm not sure what the icon is right now. And then you can hit record a quick video and hit send. The video goes to our cloud. We spit out a link to the video, you text it right over. It can have massive impact. And I think what you just described is an easy way to differentiate yourself, your agency against your competitors, right? Because now you're providing, imagine this, right? Brad, you're my client, you're a dermatologist or whatever. I'm booking you appointments. I come back at the end of the month and I'm like, hey, Brad, I know business is rocking. I know things are doing great. We booked you 45 appointments this month, but I audited the conversations and I only see 3 personalized videos in here.
Yep.
We all know that if we get to the personalized video, we get more people showing up, right? Now you're delivering accountability, right? And, think about it. It's why we pay personal trainers. It's why we pay nutritionists. It's why we pay these people to bring accountability to our worlds. And that's a really, I mean, you could have a really low cost VA doing those audits every month,
Yeah.
right? I think that's a super impactful strategy that pretty much anyone, no matter how early you are in your journey, could implement pretty easily.
Yeah. And speaking of the VA, I mean, again, we instruct our team on the prospecting side of Clinic Grower to go and like and follow their Facebook page, their Instagram, their LinkedIn, like wherever you can find them, right? Send them a friend request on Facebook if you can find them. Send that personalized video. The day of, make sure that you're doing a voicemail drop. Again, old school, it was there on day one, right? A lot of us that were really early in 2019 were using it, but you can create a personalized generic, right? It'll come across as individualized for that day, but send them that voicemail drop, right? Just be, hey, looking forward to seeing you for your appointment. You can automate all of that out, but make it look like you're kind of everywhere, not creepy stalker kind of agency owner. But those are little things that I think a lot of the time we forget to do because we assume that they're going to show up.
Yeah, and it opens to a world of creativity, an opportunity of creativity that I wish, I wish we could put together a case study around this, right? Because when you send that personalized video, right? Imagine it's, the example that came to my head is like Super Bowl's coming up, right? So imagine if it's like, I'm recording the video, I'm like, hey, Brad, thanks for booking that appointment. We can't wait to see you. Like, oh, look, Dr. Bob's already, putting up the whatever, the pennants for, the Eagles who are going to be in the Super Bowl, obviously, but he'll still be here waiting for you. You know what I mean? Like things like that, where you get to make these connections, even though it may be a 10-second video or whatever. Like I've always said to people, just imagine how much more likely you are to show up just by seeing the inside of an office, right? In a half a second, you can see and know, oh, this is a professional environment that looks clean, that looks safe, that looks warm, that looks whatever, as opposed to what might be in your mind if you have no visual of the place. Like, I don't think people understand the psychology of what a personalized video can do.
Well, and not just that, but you've got the captive audience. If they're watching the video, then that's a great opportunity, again, to build value of what can they expect on the call. What can they expect from the relationship? What can they expect from working with you? These are all things that, again, most of us, we set an appointment. There's a couple of text reminders. Maybe we'll have someone call, the day of to do it. It's probably honestly not good enough, especially what we're paying to acquire that lead from advertising, and ultimately what the lifetime value is for that potential client to our agency.
I've seen and heard a lot of high-level users get really creative with it. Things like you mentioned, maybe you're doing a custom welcome video at the beginning, but then having pre-recorded videos that get sprinkled in to the reminders leading up that cover specific things, right? That sort of get you thinking in the way they want you thinking, or prepped, or maybe, hey, first thing we're going to do is go over this. So we need to make sure that you remember to bring this with you or have this ready. Things like that kind of are these little micro commitment moments that if you can get people doing that along the way, it adds up to, way more likely that they're actually going to show up.
Yeah. Well, and honestly, I mean, the more transactional your messaging is, the more transactional you should expect someone to engage with it. The more personalized and unique it is, probably, again, get somebody more engaged. So we all want people coming to a call, sales or otherwise, essentially with the credit card in hand, ready to buy. Right. That's what we're looking for. So just sending the kind of the default, you have this appointment, this time, this look, is probably not actually doing anything to inspire the person. And there's very good, we all know we have all have competition. We're all often, going for the same kind of eyeballs. Adding those elements probably actually make a difference. And you're right, it would be a great case study to test to see. I don't know that I would want to go backwards from where we've come back to kind of that old style, but certainly if someone wants to try it, it would be great to measure from where they were to where they could get to.
Oh, I have no doubt that it would prove it out. I just, I'd love to have facts around how much of a difference it makes, right? And I think, it's actually pretty scalable too, right? Like if you're listening to this and you're like, this sounds great, but this sounds like a ton of work. Definitely not. I mean, if I were, we used to work with a lot of med spas. I could very easily create videos that every one of our clients could have used about, because they all wanted the same thing. They all wanted body sculpting appointments. They, and they wanted the pre-call sales call or whatever. Like it doesn't have to be. Now, I would definitely say you want to get your clients doing personalized videos right off the bat, but that sequence leading up can be totally scalable. Like you said,
Yep.
bit.ly links, whatever you need to do. I don't think it has to be this gigantic burden. And it definitely doesn't have to be unique sequence to every client. Would you agree?
Agreed. And like again, it depends on, if you are in a situation where your cost per show is very attractive and competitive, then it's probably not a pain point. There's some agencies out there though that probably, like, if their no-show rate is 50%, I mean, it doesn't need to be that high, right? And we know that, we know from the literature on the medical side that about 32% of people are habitual no-showers. So that's actually quite scary when you think to yourself, a third of people are likely to no-show. It doesn't mean they're gonna no-show you 100%, but it means like they no-show everybody. They're late to everything. They're disorganized. Lots of different reasons behind it. So even if your cost per lead, cost to book is say $200. I mean, do the math. You're like, okay, that starts to get pretty expensive if 30% of these people aren't going to show up. You're not going to get everyone to show up, but you probably want to, again, get to the point where it makes financial sense to do the things that you need to do to get that cost to show to what's appropriate.
100%. And I am one of those people, right? I have, my whole day is booked out on my calendar. But yet I constantly, if I don't have team members like slacking me, hey, are you coming? I'm like, oh shoot. Because
Yep.
I get so into something, and or my wife, like, hey, you remember that we need to drop the car off tomorrow at 11 o'clock at the thing, right? And I'm like, oh my gosh, no, I completely forgot. Like, thank you for reminding me. I am that type of person. But what's interesting about what we're talking about, right, is as soon as there's like a bond and I feel personally responsible, then I'm not going to miss it, right? And I think that's so easy to create that bond where you will feel bad if you miss it. But what's interesting on the flip side, and let's talk a little bit about recovering no shows, is when I do screw up and I miss something, then I feel so bad, I like avoid the situation. Right. And that's terrible, right? Because I intended to show up. I intended to probably pay for something or whatever. But then when I blew them off out of my aloofness or whatever, I feel so bad that I don't want to like call them back up and be like, oh, I'm so sorry I blew you off. Oftentimes I'll just kind of avoid it. But like if that personal connection has been made, then it's like I'm going to go above and beyond to make sure that I get back there. So I think, that's another process that people often overlook is when people do no show, then what, right? Do you even have a way of knowing that in the system, right? Because in high level, we can automate off of that if the signal is being sent. So is that something that you teach your clients to do? Do you get that, hey, if somebody doesn't show up, here's what you need to do so that the system knows?
Yeah. Yeah. On our client side, they have a daily task. They need to go into the appointment list and they actually need to mark all of their schedules as a show, no show, canceled, rescheduled, etc. We do that on the agency side too. Focusing on no shows has increased our reschedule rate. We get more reschedules, but I'd rather have a reschedule than a no show. So it does create a little bit of work. You're right. I mean, if they've got that personalized relationship or connection, then they're probably more likely that 24-hour reminder to, so actually, tomorrow at this time is not going to work. Can we reschedule? But I'd rather that than sit on a sales call and it's just dead air. Nobody's there. Because you're right. Then the challenge is, well, that person's really tough to reschedule. So I think if you come at it from a couple, again, this is a multifactorial challenge, right? Like you're always coming at it from multiple angles. There's no perfect system. But what you want to do is you want to make it as efficient as possible. And we say that to our clients too. Like at the end of the day, if you're not marking them, then how do you know? And we do have automations for canceled that are different than no shows. And again, we're coming at it from a very compassionate standpoint, which is, hey, I know everyone's busy. Want to make sure you're okay. And again, we have like a checklist with our client success team that we actually sit down with clients that are complaining about no-shows and say, okay, here's about 13 items on this checklist that I give them. And it's like, if you're doing all of these things, then you can blame the patient or the prospect. But if you didn't do one of these things, it's a really good reason probably why they no-show.
And that goes back to the accountability piece, right? Again, I hope this is sinking in. These are things that don't require legacy years of experience in the industry, right? They don't require a ton of really high-end talent, right? Highly trained talent, right? Any VA could just be auditing and sending back reports of, hey, out of the 30 days in October, 23 of them you guys didn't do the end of the day checklist. Yep. And these are the types of things that we know work. Like, it's just 100%. If you do these things, more appointments will show up. And so imagine what you can bring to your client base just by providing that layer of accountability, right? And anyone who's ever had a personal assistant or a great personal assistant or a great VA, you're like, this is fantastic, right? They are on top of things. And you can so easily bring that to provide that to your clients as part of the value that you're delivering. And it's not like, what am I trying to say? It's not something where it's like, oh, this may work or may not work. Like, this is a proven tactic, right? It's like, it's just going to work if you have it in place. And so I love that. I love the end of the day checklist. We teach, I've taught a lot of people to try to automate it off the back of every appointment, but that can be tough, right? The doctor's doing stuff in and out of the day and misses them here and there. But at the end of the day, if you just have to go back through one shot, I like that approach.
Yep. Well, to us, it's a belief system, right? Mm-hmm. We actually even secret shop, mystery shop our own clients. We come in as, I'm always Brett Johnson. If you guys ever see me on a funnel, that's definitely me. If you see Brett Johnson. But in that situation, we know that a good portion of our clients actually will say that they're calling with the reminders, and they're not. So we want to catch them when, especially early in the process, early in onboarding, as we're going live, maybe in the first 2 weeks, we're almost always probably doing that mystery shop and saying to our clients, hey, great job on the call, or great job on the personalized video, or like you had said, you missed this many, that's going to have an impact. We want you to have a higher ROI. What can we do to help you get there?
Well, plus I feel like there's another psychological thing at play here, right? Because clients who know that they're not doing what they're supposed to be doing, it's hard for them to cancel on you, right? Because they're admitting that basically they didn't hold up their end of the bargain. And I feel like there's some leverage there, like some psychological leverage. It's a much better position to be in, right? When you're like, guys, we're telling you that this works. We've proven that this works, and you're just not doing it. We're going to keep reminding you, versus an agency where they don't really hear from them much. And at the end of the month, it's like a report. And, if the numbers aren't fantastic, it's like, man, should we pay them again for another month?
No, listen, the tone of your client success is super important, whether you're running a solo shop or whether you're a large agency like us. And, we look to our clients, especially at partnering with them and saying, not blaming, not making them feel bad, but saying, look, like, you want to be better. You want a better result. You want a better outcome. That's why you hired us. Here are the things that we'd like to see you do that we're confident are going to lead to this. And then again, whether it's scorecards or check-ins or, on calls, we reinforce when we see those wins and say, here's the change that you made. Here's the result that you got. Let's continue in that direction.
Mm-hmm. I mean, those are beautiful conversations, right? Hey guys, when we first, engaged, you told us that one of the problems was you didn't have enough people showing up. We all agreed that this checklist of things would fix that. You did it, not super consistently last month, but you did reduce no-shows. Are we seeing the correlation here? All right, We're going to commit to doing more of it next month, right? Right. Okay, great. That's a great partnership between an agency and a business where they're kind of in it together, as opposed to that make or break end of the month recap call, which, I've done a ton of those, and that's not fun. That's not a good way to run a client engagement.
Yeah. And for a lot of us, I mean, again, plug to you guys, the text to pay has been a game changer on the client side in terms of anyone that has the ability to get a $1 confirmation for a no-show fee, get a deposit for an initial treatment or appointment. Even for us on the sales side, we use it to get deposits up front. That's a feature that probably when it first came out, we didn't really recognize how to use it, and now I would say 90% of our clients and 90% of our actions in the agency, we're using it daily.
I'll flesh that out a little bit more, because when text to pay, when I talk about that feature, I often feel like the value is not being expressed. I'm like, yeah, if you work with home service people, they're out on the job a lot. They probably do something that's not in their system as a set product. So it's often hard to collect like a random amount of money. But you guys are using it, your setters are using it while they're booking these appointments.
Yep. Yeah. So for medical on that side, it's almost always like a $1 confirmation, right? So we're going to text to pay. We're reserving the spot. I mean, we got specific verbiage that I'm happy to share in separate conversations with agencies if they're interested. But it really is our goal is we know that 30% is out there. So we want to call the bluff, right? It's like, are you really going to put a credit card on file for either a no-show fee or for a deposit? And if they don't want to, that's perfectly fine. It just means that it's a walk-in, or it means that they can come on a regular day when the promotion is not available. But in order to get this promotion at this price, at this element, there's a requirement. And I think, early on, it was difficult to sell to our clients because there was a lack of confidence that it would be effective. And now for my biggest clients, I mean, I'll go on a meeting later today with one of my plastic surgeons, and the 50 appointments that we've made for him last week, he'll sit there on the call saying they were all prepaid, right? And then he'll do the math in his head and he'll say, that's this much money. And he loves it now. But there was hesitation initially. We had to work a ton on scripting, a ton on training, trial and error in terms of what to use. But I don't know. I don't know a client now for us in the medical space. And again, I'm sure it works fantastic in home renovation and any type of deposit where you're in a sales situation. Just getting that micro commitment. Like again, we're talking about a dollar. It's something psychological that's there. It's a $50 deposit to move towards a proposal. It's a tool that we never had before, and I don't know. Like, you guys aren't going to ever take it away, but like I tease the Eliza guys. I'm like, we're waiting for it to come into Eliza, right? Like it's a big deal for us when that's finally going to be available, hopefully soon. So whoever's listening, we want that really fast.
Oh, totally. Plus, when Apple Pay and Google Pay and all that are baked in, right? When they can just click the link, scan their face, and it's paid, that's going to be fantastic. And I know the team was working really hard to get those out in the near future. Talk to me more about the $1. That's really interesting to me because, like, I 100% agree that micro commitments are powerful. But is $1 really enough for scares people away versus, does it weed people out? How'd you come up with the $1 figure?
Yeah, so even if we were testing funnels trying to get patients to prepay, right? So we typically do a 3 or 4 step funnel. So you got a lead form on the front end or some type of opt-in, and you're showing a calendar page. And because again, someone brilliant at high level decided that they're going to allow the Stripe integration with the calendar, we were like, okay, can we get patients to prepay $25 or $50 or even $1?
That's where my mind goes, right? It's going to be $25 or $50 somewhere in that range.
But some markets are going to be super competitive. And in some instances, again, from med spas, if the Botox offer is the same pretty much everywhere, the Groupons are really similar when you're doing your competitive analysis, that can be tough to ask for that straight up because it's not Groupon. There's not that trust built yet with the vendor or the clinic. So even just doing the dollar and just saying, hey, by doing this verification, we're going to put you right to the very front of the line. You're going to get the opportunity to book this appointment before anyone else does, and you're using your countdown timer and all the other fun scarcity stuff that you've got. It does make a huge improvement. We've seen maybe about a 50% calendar opt-in using that. And yes, your total opt-ins are going to be a little bit less, but your clients aren't chasing those leads like they're chasing other people, right? The intent is just simply higher, or there'll be some additional benefit or incentive that we'll put on the calendar for that $1 that when they do it, it unlocks again some other level. So the whole goal is we want people that are going to call, that are going to talk to the team, that are going to book and keep their appointment. So we're always looking at the size that we're at now with what are those little tweaks? Like, how do we use the software to our advantage? How do we use messaging to our advantage, personalization to our advantage? At the end of the day, that's what our clients are paying us more and more to do, and allows us to raise our prices.
That's really interesting because, I feel like a lot of times when we've done that, it was like, well, it needs to be high enough so that if they don't show up, it's like, okay, whatever, at least we recouped some of that time. So let's make it $15 or $40 or whatever. And that really reduces the amount of bookings that are made. So that's interesting. And I don't know if you've tested this out enough to say this confidently or not, but it sounds like you could reduce it all the way down to $1 and get pretty much accomplish the same goal of like weeding out people who are not serious at all. But
so it comes down to It comes down to doing the research. So use your med spas as an example, Botox. Did you ever have a patient that came in just for 5 units? No, they're coming in usually for 20, 30, 40 units, right?
Yeah.
So if you were to put it at a 5 unit minimum, which would be $50 in most markets,
Mhm.
you're not going for anything, like you're not coming in for a $25 Botox, right?
Right.
That's your minimum. So in that instance, what you're really kind of saying to the patient is, again, it's a little bit of a bluff. It's a little bit of like, how badly do you want this? Are you going to
Mhm.
waste our time, or are you really serious about wanting that offer? And there's a minimum that we're going to do to unlock it. And on the dental side, that's exactly what we do. We say, hey, if you don't want to provide we just call it a direct pay, like, because we don't use Stripe or anything, like we don't say it's anything, we just say the direct pay link. Then that's fine. You can have a walk-in. You'll maybe wait a little bit longer. The additional special is not going to be eligible, and you'll be surprised how many people go, you know what? Send me the link. Actually, I want to sign up, because you're just saying to them, this is legit. This is real. It is nice. If anyone's not seen it, I'm sure there's a YouTube video. Like, it comes up with your Stripe account, your logo, and all the specifics on the text to pay. And it does reassure the patients or the prospects, because no one really wants to probably give their credit card over the phone. You don't really know what it's going into. In this instance, you can see it's a secure link. It's coming into a Stripe, and off you go.
And like you said, the impact is huge, right? When a client sees that our appointments being booked that are prepaid some amount, like their eyes light up, right? Because again, I feel like that's something that most people think is a pipe dream. Oh, wouldn't it be great if we could get people to pay just to reserve their slots or whatever? And when you start actually making it happen, you get very, very happy clients that are definitely not going to churn on you as long as you can keep producing prepaid bookings.
And early on, like I shared before, you're going to get hesitation from those newer clients. It is definitely a newer idea, but the way that we always approach it is like, for you and I, when we go to fly, we're not kind of saying, hey, Delta, trust us, right? Like, we're good for it when we show up. Delta's like, no, you gotta prepay for that ticket, right?
Mm-hmm.
When we go to book hotels, when we're traveling, same thing. You maybe not have to pay for the hotel room right up front, but you've got to put a credit card on file. It's just coming at it from that same mindset of like, this is an inevitable outcome. Your scripting, you'll obviously have to work on, depending on the industry, but it's a tool that I would advise everyone takes a hard look at, because it has had a huge impact for not just our clients, but even for us as an agency.
I love it. If you're listening and you feel like, oh, charging $50 up front just turns everyone off, test the dollar. It makes total sense to me. It's a micro commitment that everyone's like, it's $1, but at the same time, you're like, well, I took the time to pull out my credit card or, go through the link and actually make the payment. So you did make that micro commitment. Makes total sense. Brad, what other tips or tricks do you have? I've seen people do things like a day before, get a yes out of them. Hey, Chase, automated text, just want to confirm we're still on, or just want to confirm that tomorrow at 4 p.m. still works for you. Is that time still good? And then,
Yep.
trying to get them to say like, yes, I still plan on coming. Do you have any other tips or tricks, anything you guys do to bake into your automations like that?
Exactly. We every automation looks personalized. So we use a persona inside of our agency, kind of the name of our executive assistant, essentially. So even if they're automated, it's like, hey, this is Brad with, Clinic Grower. Looking forward to your appointment tomorrow. We'll ask for even just a thumbs up. Like, just give us a thumbs up and reply that you're able to receive this. We'll even send something as simple as the Zoom link in a text message 20 minutes, 10 minutes before, because we know, again, it's one of those small things that what's the number one reason that our clients, and again, it's different for every niche, obviously, but our clients are generally seeing patients coming to that meeting. They're scrambling, looking for their email. They're trying to open their calendar, having it right at the top of their phone, like when they're kind of, coming to the tops of their messages and having it there. Honestly, most of the time we get gratitude from clients, and they'll just say, hey, really appreciate that you texted that to me 5 minutes before. I was able to click on it and come right in. And it's like, oh, like little things like that you look and you analyze, make a difference on a show. And then, of course, for us, the lifetime value of our clients is huge. So, it's huge for any one of the agencies, but that little thing, it makes a big deal.
Yeah, that's smart. I want to ask you a question about something you just said about the persona. Do you guys, I've seen this before where it's like, oh, with every client, we tell them that we're giving them this new fake staff member and all the messaging goes out from this name. We've tested it. We know that this is a name that like people generally like. It's gender non-specific. It could be a boy or a girl. Like I've seen people go that deep with it, and it's like, wow, that's really interesting. And it's like, yep, all our clients know if somebody mentions this name, they're like, oh, that came from online marketing, right? Like that's this agency did that for us.
Yeah, and that's something that I did in clinical research years ago, even before I teamed up with Brad at Clinic Grower. Is we had a persona. It was the name of the girl that you trusted in high school to tell your deepest secrets to. And when patients
Winnie
use
Cooper?
that, similar to like a Wendy, yeah, like similar. It's very 1980s kind of name. I don't want to use it because everyone's going to use it then. Share it, but when patients are calling in for our clients, they'll say, hey, I was speaking to, in this instance, let's say Mary. And Mary is the trigger word. Mary is like, they understand that that's a Clinic Grower lead. So when the person calls in, they say like, hey, I saw your thing online about your stuff and I was talking to Mary. They're like, awesome. So you saw this promotion, and it just moves them right into that sales process really nice and smoothly. It helps to identify the staff, like, what's coming in. And there's no real harm in doing it. The honest truth is everyone wants that just speaks to the power of that personalization, which is what we're talking about today, right? So rather than saying you have an appointment at this time, you're just saying like, hey, it's Mary with Clinic Grower, looking forward to having your call with us in 20 minutes. Yes, maybe they're perceiving that as automated, but they're also maybe perceiving that as being legitimate. To me, like, it's overwhelming if we were to look at the response rates, that makes a difference.
I absolutely love that. And I do think it's, again, another differentiator. Anytime you can remove the guesswork that a client may feel, or the non-confidence of being able to attribute something to an agency, they will default to the probably wasn't them, right? Yep. And so if we can eliminate that guesswork, and I love this, you install this, fake name, this fake assistant or whatever. As soon as somebody mentions that, boom, they instantly think about you and they have to accredit it to you. It's like, wow, they've created this.
Yeah, it's no different
than that people keep talking about.
Like direct mail still works, right? And that's why we love the whisper with the tracking phone numbers, because when that call comes in from that direct mail piece to our clients, there's a little whisper that says this is a call from direct mail from Clinic Grower, and boom, it's right there. And then again, we can track it. So there's no more kind of like, I think I feel it did okay, or it didn't work, we didn't get any calls. We can go through now with reporting on the tracking and say, hey, here's exactly the outcome that, like, clients, again, it's all the tools that I don't know that everyone's using, but all I can say is use all of them. They're all amazing. You guys need to have like 15,000 views on every single YouTube video, because when I hire a systems engineer, or we're hiring somebody on fulfillment, it's mandatory that they go in there and we essentially give them half an hour a week to come in and just watch the new stuff that you or Sean or Paulson or someone else is doing.
That's awesome. You mentioned direct mail. Now, direct mail is not something that we used to do at our agency, and I feel like we really missed out. The more I hear about it, the more I think it's such a brilliant opportunity in this day and age when people get way less mail now. And I didn't know you could do things like, hey, send out a postcard to everyone in a 5-mile radius of this address that I just got from my new client, right? And you can do crazy things like, hey, this is, Dr. Bob over here at whatever med spa, someone from your neighborhood just came in for this service and here's what she had to say about it or whatever. Again, you're creating that bond of like, oh, wow, like someone from our community went and liked this business, incredible things that you could do automated through postcards. And I don't think many agencies are taking advantage of that for sure.
No. I mean, the cost to acquire is probably very similar to digital platforms at this point, with the cost kind of coming up. Maybe 3 or 4 years ago, it was totally different when you could go on Facebook and just generate a lead for, like $10, $15. I think those days, because the platform is kind of obviously increasing their margins too, in terms of how they're kind of taking our money. Those old school things are kind of coming back. And I think, they're still effective if you've got the right strategy.
Totally. So Brad, I mean, to recap here, we definitely obviously want to be sending reminders leading up to an appointment. We want to personalize them, leverage the personal video feature. It's super quick and easy to do. 10 seconds, you could have a really powerful personalized or video going out to people who book. We talked about kind of placeholders along the way, trying to get some interaction leading up to the appointment. Does this day and time still work for you? Great. Or, hey, we're going to talk about this. Do you have that ready already? These types of things leading up. Sending that automation from a fictitious employee that we could use across all of our customers. I think that's a genius idea. And we talked about putting a little gate in there, even if it's just $1 to weed out, this is, in my opinion, in my experience, it has worked incredibly well for clients who are already doing pretty well, right? They are, I can remember one guy, we blew up his first med spa, and then he, started opening more. And that was his thing. This is awesome. You guys can clearly generate a ton of leads, but we're wasting time talking to people who aren't serious, right? So how do we filter these people out? Boom, put $1 charge on there, and you'll see it filter out the tire kickers for sure. I loved the end of the day recap idea. You're essentially training. Are you training them to just pop into high level and go to the appointment list and do that there? Do you have a spreadsheet, or how do you guys actually operationalize that?
We have a full daily workflow for our clients. They have like a 9 o'clock task, an 11 o'clock task, a 1 o'clock, a 3 o'clock. We've just found that the more that they're inside of the tool, high level, the more that they're responding back. We obviously do have an appointment booking service that we provide to our larger clients. So we do that on their behalf, and they love that. But for the smaller independent practices that we're working with, we just say to them, look, the more time that you're spending in here, the speed to lead, the element of personalization. I have dentists right now recording videos like they've never recorded before. They just, you tell them to record a video, and they kind of just imagine it's all this work until you're like, awesome, let's download the app, because we have a white labeled app. Here's how you use it. And then all of a sudden they just stop talking to you. They just start walking down the hall off the Zoom, start playing around with it. And, the only downside is the client success team, gets like all these random videos going like, what do you think of this? What do you think of this? What do you think of this? But from a retention standpoint, from a stickiness standpoint, I mean, this is stuff that these guys, they love, right? Again, I'm sure that every niche is different, but I'm sure there's, agencies watching this where that's going to be a perfect fit for their clients, especially if you're a face-to-face type business.
I'm so glad that you brought up the mobile app. So we're working on, my team is working on a new playbook, Quick and Easy Wins, where it's like, hey, you came to high level because you heard it can do whatever awesome thing. It totally can, but start with these quick and easy things. And, a lot of them, what we just talked about now. And the number 3 thing that we tell you to do is download the mobile app. And a lot of people are like, really, is that really that important like one of the first things that they have to do? And it's like 100%. We actually have statistics internally now that the clients who download the mobile app use the app 90% more than sub accounts that don't, right? And usage obviously leads to less churn. And the sub accounts that download the mobile app statistically see 61% more contacts created in that sub account, which was fascinating to me. It's like, wow, okay, why? Well, they're on the go and they're able to just quickly create contacts and push people into automations and things like that. So they do. And so you end up seeing way more usage and way more contacts flowing into the system for the clients that you get to download the mobile app. And so that we're really doubling down on that as one of the first things that you should do is make sure your clients download and sign into the app.
We have clients, honestly, tell the development team, they use the mobile app so much with multiple sub accounts that they've asked how in the notifications can they get a little notice of what sub account the message is coming from. And that again just tells you how engaged some of those clients are and how seriously they're asking their front desk teams or their appointment setters to follow up, whether they're at a conference, they're in their office, they're on the beach. I mean, they have their entire marketing system at their fingertips. And like the downside is they keep asking for more. And of course, we know you guys are doing a great job on the development side, but it's incredible to see what the asks are from them.
Well, this is a great opportunity to plug the mobile team. We really staffed up the mobile team this year, and I feel like around Q2 they really started hitting their stride. And this year we've seen incredible improvements to the mobile app in general. but the next rollout is super good, right? Like, I don't know if you've seen any of the swipeable stuff yet, but basically we're like, look, this needs to get to the point where it feels like WhatsApp, right? I can swipe left and right on conversations and get quick actions there, things like that. And so it's great to hear people loving it in the wild, because I know it's only going to get more sticky for end users in the very near future with the things that I've seen the mobile team working on. So I'm really, really pumped on the mobile app. And I think if if you're not using it, definitely get your clients to start using it. You'll retain your clients longer. That's just a statistical fact. And hopefully, as Brad mentioned, that you can actually white label it if it is an additional monthly charge, but you can get it in the app stores under your agency's name or your white label's name. Which, how powerful is that for you? I feel like a lot of people don't really understand the brand value there.
Yeah, I mean, I know on our onboarding calls, you probably catch me every single week with a smile on my face when I pull up the slide and it says, and please go to the App Store or the Google Play Store and download our app so you get these messages directly, so you can watch what our team is doing. I said it has great functionality. Certainly it's not what desktop is, one-to-one. But then you see everyone pull out their phones and what's the name, and you send it over to them. And then again, you see the usage go up like crazy. It's one of the very first things that we talk about on our onboarding call with new clients.
That's awesome. Brad, I feel like I should ask you about your call center team. I know we talked about this on our last interview, but it is something that I feel like is probably what's the opposite of a 101 college course? Like, what's the 400? Is that as high as it
gets? The masters,
like,
or the 400, yeah.
I feel like that's definitely a 400 level service that I've seen many agencies try and fail at. Which is, just so everyone's clear, what we're talking about is, hey, we are actually getting on the phone for our clients and closing leads into bookings and things like that on their behalf. Is that still going strong? Are you growing that program?
Yeah, about 40% of our clients are on that program right now. And it's been it's probably clipping on around about a 34% profit margin. It's been profitable right since day one. Everyone in the agency world, of course, said, don't do it. It's a horrible idea. You're going to pull your hair out. And again, listen, I mean, there were growing pains. Again, to plug the team, if you don't know what Eliza is, watch any of the Paulson stuff that I've done with Paulson. That tool alone has been able to, stretch our productivity easily by 40-45% in terms of click time to call time. There's more work that NASA and obviously the team are doing on it. But we did it very slow, methodical. We built it like a sales team, right? So again, it's a whole other conversation I know that we could have on kind of booking centers versus calling centers and the mindsets that we've installed with our team. It comes down to great hiring, role playing, objection handling, but we built it now where we've got 12 agents for all of our clients. We're still adding more every month. We've had more clients ask. We have a little wait list that's going on right now, which is, again, it's a great problem to have.
Nice.
Technology is we're still waiting for it to catch up, like with the text to pay and things like that. We're still doing that obviously inside of the high level sub accounts. But the best advice I ever got from a good friend of mine, Nick Robbins, was basically, these clients have so many problems inside of their business that you're not going to be able to solve all of them. But if you can solve some of them, you become invaluable to them. And that's really what we found is, someone at the front desk of any business has 5 or 6 tasks ongoing at any given time, and that lead comes in. You guys know this in terms of the speed to lead. If you can't get to that person within the first 5 to 12 minutes, I mean, good luck trying to get a hold of them. They're just they're too busy. So the mindset I've been installing my team and sharing with agency owners is, we're calling when it's convenient for us. It may not be convenient for that prospect. So the whole idea of the booking center is, whether it's text, Facebook Messenger, Instagram, maybe TikTok in the future, WhatsApp when it comes out, it's just basically everyone rushes to that lead and basically says, how can we get you booked? Right? How can we connect with you? And then everything that we're talking about today rolls into, okay, well, how do we present that? How do we get them to show? We're solving big problems for industry. This is exciting as entrepreneurs. And I just wanted to get on and talk about all the cool things that we're using on the platform and how to use them.
Yeah, that's fantastic. As Brad mentioned, so Eliza is a sister platform to High Level, built by High Level, built to bolt on to High Level, and it allows you to manage conversations across all sub accounts in one place. So it's great for setter teams. It's great for franchises. There's a bunch of great, use cases for it. Brad
And has a white label component where you can build it for enterprise to offer the service to other agencies as well.
Oh, I didn't even know that.
Yeah, there you go.
Awesome. Brad, I'd love to ask you your service, your setter service. What percentage from a cost perspective, how much more does it cost your clients to opt into it? So you know what I mean?
Yeah. So it's about 20%. So we obviously try to keep it as low as possible because, us being high ticket, those clients are already paying, a considerable retainer plus their ad spend.
Yeah.
But the whole goal there is we've got it tiered, right? So we have a warm transfer service in terms of a minimum foot in the door. For a lot of our clients, we book directly into their EHR. Then there's that full kind of catalog, which is like we get the Stripe to pay. We're booking into your system, we're doing the follow-ups, we're doing all the reminders and stuff like that. And it really allows a smaller client who's struggling with, essentially like, I can't afford to add an extra person to answer the phone, but obviously I want to be able to do marketing so that I can get more leads in booked. And we just really we pooled our clients when we kind of launched this back in like early 2021 and just kind of said basically like, if there was no price, where would the decision point be for you, right? Like as you go along, and they were great in giving feedback, and that's exactly what we designed the product and the platform around.
That's fantastic. I feel like most times when I've seen it, it's like almost 100% more of the plan, right? It's almost double. If it's a $1,500 a month plan, but you want the call setting service, it's $30,000 a month. So to be able to get it offered to your clients for only 20% more, I feel like it's pretty impressive.
Now,
Very
that being
cool.
said, you've got to be super efficient, right?
Sure, I bet.
And again, everything that we're talking about, in terms of how your funnels operate and the Eliza automations and stuff. But I've always donated my time to agencies that have Eliza based questions because again, seeing what they're doing, then seeing what I'm doing, it always gives you new ideas and things like that. But I think I think it's one of the, I always tell you guys, it's the one thing that I think you guys should be pumping a lot more. Because when you're working inside of a sub account and you're clicking and dragging and going back and forth and in and out, you don't realize how much click time there is versus time to do calls. And Eliza allows you literally just to go like through a list and just do all the calls for any of the assigned sub accounts. And then when someone replies, boom, it comes right to the top. So you're right, like the speed to lead is so impressive with it.
Yeah, that's really a great point. And I know that we have a plan to push it a lot harder when the speed to lead metrics are going to be shown in app. So like I've seen a bunch of different design ideas, but imagine, I'm not saying this is how it's going to be, but this is one of the ideas is like around, how there's like every contact has a little circle avatar. Imagine if around that there were a line that started as like blue, and as it got closer to 5 minutes, it got red, orangish, and then red, basically based on a 5-minute countdown. Like you're saying, we all know that 5 minutes is kind of the cliff. And so, we want your end users to start to see that they are not doing enough in the first 5 minutes, right? And then report on that. Like, hey, you have a 0% response rate within the first 5 minutes. And so it'll be, we know it'll be a lot easier to sell those types of services when there's data there to kind of prove the point. But yes, Eliza, definitely reach out to us if you're interested in it. It is a fantastic service for teams that are working across sub accounts. Brad, you mentioned that you've always been very generous with your time in the community, and we really appreciate that of you. I know you didn't come on today to sell anything or push anything, but if folks are listening and they would like to connect with you, what's the best place for them to find you?
Yeah, honestly, you can Brad Ferris on LinkedIn or Brad M Ferris on Facebook. I'm in probably most of the groups. You know, some of us that are old that have lots of gray hair, we're around all over the place, commenting on things like that. Yeah, so it's probably not that hard to find me. Bref is way easier to find. Bref McHugh, my partner. So bother Bref first, and if you can't find me, then he'll connect us.
Please tell Bref I said hi.
I will.
We go way back, and I haven't seen him in a while, but great guy.
Yeah, we'll come to the high level event next year.
Great. That'd be awesome. Awesome, Brad. Well, thanks for coming on. We really appreciate all the nuggets.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks for watching, guys. See you in the next one.